What is it with combining cybernetics and ninjas? They never seem to live up to the mind's imagination in the movies. Well, not for me anyway, but stick them in a game and they just feel right at home. It fulfills my wildest fantasies of living in a dystopian cyberpunk megacity, having access to infinite power, possessing lightning agility and acting brutal limb-splitting kills, all decorated with bloodletting gore.
Shut up and take my money!
Ghostrunner is on PC, PlayStation, Xbox and Switch, developed by One More Level and co-published by 505 and All In Games. We play as Jack the Ghostrunner, who's destined to save humanity after a global disaster that's become known as the Burst. Humanity is now stored within a domineering skyscraper called the Dharma Tower, and Ghostrunners are these technologically advanced super soldiers designed to keep the peace, and after waking with amnesia, Jack must climb a Dharma Tower under the guidance of Adam, the architect of the Dharma Tower, who is a constant voice in Jack's head throughout the story. Adam's been betrayed by his former associate Mara, and it's now up to Jack, one of the last standing Ghostrunners, to reach the summit of the Dharma Tower and put a stop to Mara while uncovering the mystery behind his memory loss. The story is okay, nothing to get too excited about in truth, but you shouldn't be picking up Ghostrunner for the story. The fluid and high octane gameplay is intoxicating beyond belief, and let me tell you, it plays even better than it looks. It's such an intense game. I remember when I first saw the trailer, I thought it was just one of those typically glorified gameplay trailers, but let me assure you, it's one of the freshest and slickest first-person parkour experiences I've played to date, and it rarely comes up in conversations when mentioning first-person parkour games like the classic Mirror's Edge, the more recent Dying Light games, and the even more recent Neon White. Purely from a parkour standpoint, Ghostrunner tops the lot. The parkour mechanics are so perfectly refined that to make the game a challenge and not feel totally OP due to Jack's outrageous parkouring abilities, the combat is a one-hit kill system, so one misplaced step can be costly, but the same goes for the enemies, meaning you can wipe a room out of enemies in frighteningly satisfying speeds. Ghostrunner is immensely difficult at times, and the self-glorifying images I had of myself ripping through enemies in the blink of an eye were completely destroyed. You're thrown right into the deep end immediately, no messing about, and the learning curve is harsh early on, finding out that I'm not quite the super slick wall running body slashing ninja warrior that I thought I was. The necessary skills will eventually embed themselves into your muscle memory before you know it though. Stringing the combat with the parkour is mostly timing based rather than reflex based, which becomes a case of practice makes perfect. Thankfully the checkpoints are frequent and loading is almost instantaneous, keeping the action flowing. Jack can wall run, dash, slide, grapple and slow down time mid-air using his sensory boost, and executing all of these skills in a flash with a masterful and flamboyant combination is just an absolute joy. Just controlling Jack as he darts across the room, platforming from ledge to wall to wall, then back to ledge to perfectly burst through that space that isn't occupied by a swarm of incoming bullets and slice an enemy clean in two is a feeling every gamer needs to experience at some point or another. Now, having said that, I experienced something that I've never experienced in all my years of gaming. The sheer intensity of the heart-pounding and sweaty palm action actually gave me bloody motion sickness. I couldn't believe it. I've heard of others suffering with motion sickness before, but thankfully I never had until Ghostrunner decided to turn my guts inside out. I didn't even realise until I was on my way to picking my son up from school, and what a horrific and embarrassing experience that was, trying to maintain my balance and composure while trying my hardest to not look like a shit-faced alcoholic father in front of all the other parents. Totally worth it. As we progress through the 6 to 7 hour campaign, Jack's rewarded with special abilities that in all honesty are fun to use, but really they're just the cherry on the cake to the core of Ghostrunner's mechanics. We eventually unlock Blink, which, named after the same ability found in Dishonored, lunges Jack forward in an instant, but only as a method of attack, not traversing. Then Tempest, which is a gust of wind obliterating enemies to bits, Surge, which is a wide and swooping ranged attack, and finally the Overlord, which gives Jack the power of mind control and having a foe fight on your side temporarily. All of Jack's abilities have further enhancements behind each one and must be stored in a Tetris-style puzzle inventory, which can be chopped and changed at will, allowing for a little playstyle experimentation. As I felt that satisfaction of mastering a certain new enemy type, it wasn't long before I faced a new foe and let the dying recommence. If you're the type of gamer who's easily frustrated and hates the idea of dying over and over and over, then this one is probably one to avoid, but there are some difficulty tweaks that you can make, having shorter ability cooldowns and extra life so it becomes a 2-hit death mechanic, and the overall gameplay speed can be lowered as well. None of that for me though I probably should have. Seriously, I was dying over 100 times in some of the levels. I'm not the young gamer that I once was, so having grown accustomed to dying, I've turned into a sick, self-loathing bastard over the years, to the point where I love being pummeled until my soul's drifted out of my body, leaving me with nothing more than a disturbing smile on my face, all in the name of conquering this game.
You have nothing to threaten me with.
Ghostrunner looks okay. It's not spectacular, there are some pretty low-res textures on certain assets, but the cyberpunk dystopian setting is what looks so stunning. You've got DX11 and DX12 options if you're on PC, but I did have some stuttering on DX12 unfortunately, but nice and smooth on DX11, but no ray tracing options as a result. I was playing with a 3090 and i9, 32 gigs of RAM at 4K with no ray tracing due to playing on DX11, but it still looked really nice. Sadly, we're given very little time to actually absorb any of this cyberpunk setting's beauty, because the game encourages you through its levels at such a frantic speed that before you know it, wham bam, thank you ma'am, level's over. But I do strongly recommend taking a moment to just stop and smell the sewage flavoured graffiti covered roses, as well as keeping an eye out for a few of those various collectibles that can be found hidden around each level. Negatives in this game are pretty minimal, although this is contradicting my love for being annihilated by a game. I did find the repetitive nature joined forces with the difficulty during late game and really pushed my very high gaming patience to its limit. I was also pretty surprised to find boss battles in a game where one hit and you're done for, but with the bosses having so many checkpoints mid-fight, it was really just more of the amazing platforming or timing your sword strikes that are found within the base game already, but decorated as a boss fight with a health bar. Still, incredibly fun, but they did feel a tiny bit gimmicky. Performance-wise, like I said, I was on DX11, but it was really good, very smooth, and I suffered with no bugs. Ghostrunner is disappointingly short though, which is a testament to how much I was enjoying playing, but after completion you'll unlock the hardcore mode, which, I mean, you must really hate yourself to play that. There's also the Project Hell DLC and other modes like the Kill Run mode, which is time trials effectively, and also there's the Wave mode. To be honest, I'm going out of my way to find issues with the game, and the fact that the length of the game is easily justified by the price, averaging around £20 or $20, this is an absolute must-buy, criminally underrated game. Ghostrunner is such an engaging, energised, and most importantly satisfying first-person combat and parkouring experience, but I'd love to hear your thoughts, and if you'd like to support the channel, I'd be hugely appreciated, and it will go towards helping me continue to make these videos. There's a Patreon link in the description for those who are interested. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.